We continue to mod my 2018 Audi S4 to get it to full bolt-on status. Part of my install is going to be this gigantic ECS Tuning intercooler. You might not know why we have intercoolers, what's an intercooler, why are we doing this? Any kind of supercharger or turbo is going to be generating a ton of heat. An intercooler is essentially just a radiator for the compressed air coming out of the turbo, and ideally this will keep those intake temperatures down so that we get more performance out of the vehicle. I need to remove the front wheels. To do that, I have to use this little tool, which can be found in your toolkit in the back in your trunk. You just put it in, pinch around it, pull the cap out. Now we're gonna take a 17 mil socket, and you wanna find one that's kind of skinny, and our impact, and blast these off. Pop this one off carefully, make sure there's not a big screw or nail sticking out of it. We're gonna use this T25 Torx to remove 3 outer screws. Slightly peel this stuff back. You want to be careful because it's kind of form-fitting. We have this little clip we need to remove, and we'll use a trim removal tool for that. Now way back there, it's actually all the way in the front, like almost below your headlight, is a T30 bolt. I would say swivel extension is the way to go. I'd recommend using your hands to first line everything up, and then plug your tool in and start unfastening. I dropped it. I'll use a magnet to fish this bolt out. There we go. So now you can put this carpet back in so that it keeps its molded shape. These bolts right here will allow us to disconnect that front fascia. There are 2 T25s and 5 T30s. Let's knock the T25s out first. Let's do the T30s. It's gonna be these 5 bolts. Press the little button right back here. It's on the back side of this release, and you want to push on it hard and pull it out. And you can see the buttons right there. The button may get stuck. And just so we don't screw this up when reinstalling, I'll take my little screwdriver and I'll pop that button right back out. Get your hands around the sides here and carefully pry up. So you see we've popped this up, and now you pry backwards, and you come out of these clips. And of course, we have 4 of our good old friends, the T30s right here. We're gonna move this chair under here, and hopefully it'll catch our front fascia. What we want to do is reach here and pull. Woo! There's all these clips. Yep, there we go. So wait, was that it? Just the one clip? I was imagining more, but I guess they all daisy chain off that one clip, and I'm already finding rocks in here. You might have a camera up here and a few other things, so let's try rolling it out with a chair. And we've got half the forest in here. We've got a cigarette butt. With our fascia out of the way, we should be able to remove the connector for this temperature sensor. Now we need to remove the shroud. Try to pull that. We have to disconnect some of this charge piping. You can use a flathead or a 7mm. I'm using a 7mm. You want to watch out for the wiring behind the piping, but slide your hand back, and then you want to just pull this bad boy right off the factory intercooler. We're now on the right side of the intercooler. You might need 2 hands to pull this off. We have the shroud down here, and it kind of goes inside and up. If you imagine this plane here from the back, there's kind of a square opening, and you can push this way, and I've just loosened it, so hopefully that does that. And now I'm gonna try to find it on this side over here. So I'm gonna push, and I'm gonna pull. And I think it's coming out, guys. Now, how the heck do I do this? I feel like it's just gotta come straight down, but that's kind of what I just didn't pull far enough on one of the clips. So I'm snaking my finger up, and I'm pushing in, and I'm pulling with my other hand. I'm kind of doing a squeezing motion, and you push down and pull. You might have to Sometimes push in and then push out because sometimes things are caught up a little bit. Yep, there we go. I think if we squeeze it and then lift up, kind of up and out, I think. Yep. Let me pull the other side. Now that it's loose, I think we just tiny little intercooler. Let's see if there's any oil in it. Nope, that's probably a good sign. Our next challenge is removing the charge piping. And the worst part is the worm clamp is facing backwards, so I'm gonna have a real interesting time of trying to get this out. I ended up raising the car up. I have an idea about removing this panel and maybe that'll let me in. There are some T25s that are left back here. We're gonna try to pop those off. Looks like there's some down here as well. Looks like there's a hose attached here. Now that this bottom panel is removed, I feel like I have a little more access. Oh, I think I'm actually turning it. And that was it, guys. Just buried in the back. Why? Why was it too hard to make it face the right direction? So far, my least favorite part of the install. Back under the hood, you just push down here and then twist. And then pull out. Come on, come on, come on. There we go. With our sensor out of the pipe, I'd rather not just leave it here to get dirty. So we want to push that out of the way. Actually make sure that's completely out. And these little pins, these little legs have to come out and then it'll just disconnect. So put that somewhere safe. Use a 7mm to undo this charge piping worm clamp. So with that loose, we should be able to work this thing off. Might be a little bit of a pain. Just mind some of your other lines. You don't want to break these. Yeah, this is a little bit of a bear, guys. It's just cooked on. And make sure you're not prying against the throttle body. There we go. Now all you really need to do is just snake this down. There we go. Now we need to move this throttle body spacer inlet adapter thing. Got our friend the T30 back. Looks like our throttle body's loose now. So we want to carefully remove this. It's got like an O-ring. We need to remove this coolant line clip. So I think I'm going to use these pliers in reverse to kind of push up. Yep, there we go. This is our new flange or inlet or whatever you want to call it. It's going to go on top of our new throttle body, and you just want to put this coolant hose clip right back on it. One thing to note is it does come with a new O-ring, and I'm going to try to get it in without disturbing the O-ring. Might be a little bit of a pain to get the last one back in there. Looking at the other factory O-ring, it looks good. Looking at our O-ring, it looks good. And we really don't need a whole lot of torque. We need just until it stops and then 1/8 of a turn. It's probably safe to reconnect the coolant line at this point. It's not really in the way. You want to make sure none of your wiring down here is getting caught up by anything. So that's at a stop. So we're going to go for somewhere right there. Take the silicon coupler and the 77 to 85mm clamp, and we want to position the coupler right here. Looks like this requires one of those elusive 10mm. At first, we're just going to tighten it down a little. Take our new charge pipe and our reducer and slide that on. Now we need to bring our charge pipe up, hopefully without breaking or damaging anything. All right, I did get this thing up here. We need another 70, 85mm clamp. Make sure there's the same amount of overlap below and above. Tighten that down a little bit. There we go. We'll have this slightly adjustable still, but just tight enough to hold everything in place until the intercooler's in. I think at this point, we could probably reattach our coolant lines. And now we need to install our map sensor, but first I have to take this bolt out. Here's our map sensor. We're going to install it, and it should just wiggle in. Don't need a lot of torque here. And now we just plug it in and push up that little gray retainer. I want to take a quick pause to let you know that I have a link to the product we're installing today down below in the description. It's an ECS Tuning affiliate link, and if you click through and buy anything at all on ECS Tuning's website, I will receive a small commission that helps support this channel at no added cost to you. And of course, I hope you're enjoying this video. If you are, please click like, please leave me a nice comment, and of course, subscribe. I love talking to all of you guys, and I hope to see you down below in the comments. Now let's get going and finish this install. It's time to install the intercooler itself. You might have noticed my bash bar now has this black portion. This is because I don't want it showing through my grill. I am not an expert in wrapping. I wouldn't want to make a tutorial on it. Now to mount our intercooler, the goal is to get these little feet into these slots here. Looks like our intercooler is in its perch on both sides. Right back there is the perch. So I was ready to start putting the piping on the intercooler, and then I realized ECS sent me the wrong clamp. I only have 70/78s left, no larger clamps to do this size. This sticker says 77/85. The stamp in the metal says otherwise. However, I did notice that the diameter difference here is pretty small, so I thought maybe the clamp they did give me, which is the smaller size, maybe it would fit anyway. So I took it apart to see how much thread engagement we'd get if I threw it over here and aligned it really nice. And that's still a lot of thread engagement. And we'll tighten it down here in a second. Work the piping on. And now we're going to do the right-hand side of the intercooler. Here's our aftermarket ECS tuning pipe. Now we need to take one of the 70/78mm clamps, slide it on, and then hopefully we can find a clever way to position it so that it's not annoying. Let's throw our 12mm back here and start tightening this guy down. On this side, we need to slip on our clamp. Hopefully this will be one of the easier ones since it's so much more accessible. Now I want to check back here to make sure that upper part of the pipe hasn't slid off. Now it's time to tighten these pipes up. And you don't want to over tighten and break stuff, but you also don't want these blowing off from the boost. To make sure there's a little bit of space here between the charge pipe and the flange. You want this to act as a sort of flex pipe. Now we need to remove these two screws right here. These guys are going to fit in here and hold up the top of our intercooler. You will need these two hex head screws and these new washers. We will use these to fasten our brackets. Now we can snug these up a little. Now what you do need are these two larger M8 with the larger hole washer, and we're going to use that to mount the top of the intercooler. There we go, we're just going to thread it in for now. Now we're going to start cinching up the bolts up here. That sure is a beautiful intercooler. We do need to get these guys back into place, and I guess you just have to kind of squeeze and push. It's slowly but surely making its way up there. If you recall, there are clips that push in. You want to align those. Bottom's clicked in. Top is clicked in. Get this plastic cowling back into place, and we can move this harness out of the way. And if you recall, we have these loops here that go around these hooks, and then you just push over. I would do the bottom first, It's one of those things where it's hard to line it all up at the same time. So just take your time. Remember to plug in the ambient air sensor. I'm gonna put this cover back on under the car. I don't know that everybody will have to remove this. I think it was just due to the way mine was assembled. We're now ready to get our bumper cover back on, and we need to plug in our parking sensors. We've got the fascia in place, and I've kind of walked around and made sure all the lines and the gaps have kind of, aligned. And I'm sure you've noticed the grill looks different. And this is because I also installed a different grill. This is a separate video that I'm making, so do subscribe and you'll be able to check it out. But for now, let's get back to finishing the installation for our intercooler and charge pipes. We're gonna use this T30 socket to button up these 4 bolts at the top ratchet to power them in a little bit, and then we'll finish them by hand. Install this top cover. A little bit of a challenge. It's just a little, you feel like you're gonna break it a little bit, but you gotta slide it under here, and then remember those clips. Hopefully they're compatible with this grill, and it looks like they are. We can start to button up the belly pan, and the big bolts going first. Those are the T30s. We do need to get the one screw inside the fender. I don't have a great way of showing you how to do this. The one trick I can suggest is using some tape around the bolt and a long extension, fish it through by hand, get it started. You want to take this little guy, come back in here, push hard once he's in place, get the carpet back in, start threading these bad boys in. Now we just button up the rest of these Torx that we took out from the wheel liner. Thread the lugs on one by one, and then we'll tighten them together. I'm gonna be doing it with a Torx stick, which will get it to 80 foot-pounds. You need 90, just get them snugged up first. On the whole, I thought the installation wasn't too bad. I think the instructions were very competently made. As far as the ease of installation, they give it a 1 wrench score. Like, I don't know, what's a 1 wrench to you guys? To me, like, a 1 wrench should be the simplest stuff in the world. Something anybody can just pick up and do. And frankly, I don't agree with a 1 wrench rating. I would give it a 2 wrench if you have a well-equipped shop and you're very handy and kind of used to doing this kind of stuff. However, if you're going to be doing this on jack stands, you have limited access to tools, maybe you don't do this a whole lot, I would struggle to give this below like a 2.5, maybe even a 3 wrench. As far as the quality of the product, I think it's great. I really didn't have anything to complain about with the intercooler itself. It seems well made. It seems like the welds are good. I didn't see any problems as far as the fit and finish. The charge pipes are maybe not really that necessary. You might be better off just getting the intercooler unless your existing charge pipes are falling apart. As far as performance, clearly it keeps the air temperatures down. Before the intercooler, when I was doing my Dragy runs, I was getting very different results between runs. My first run was usually my best, and then the car would just get slower and slower. With a big intercooler, my runs are consistent. If I get a good launch, I'll get a better run, even if it's my 3rd or 4th run. It does clearly make a difference. Even on a stock tune, it clearly makes a difference. If you are interested in seeing more of these Audi videos, I'll have a whole bunch of new ones coming out. So do subscribe, do leave me a like, leave me a nice comment. I'm always open to answer questions, and I love talking to all you guys. So I hope to see you down below in those comments, and I will catch you again really soon.